Alright, what's going on, guys? Boy TG, welcome back to another video. So in this video, we are going to be recapping the 2024-2025 NHL Frozen Frenzy. So the Frozen Frenzy event, it was last night. It was yesterday, Tuesday, which is the same night that the NBA season started. But that this was the big event, and it aired on ESPN, so it was on ESPN, ESPN2, NHL Network, of course, was covering it, and it was just a great time to be a hockey fan yesterday, and of course in general, because greatest sport on earth. And this was a unreal night, as you see right here: 32 teams, 16 games, one great night of hockey. So the Frozen Frenzy yesterday was like a great night. I mean, I was up until like 11, midnight watching the Frozen Frenzy. So, yeah, it was just great to see all the 32 teams in action, 16 games on the slate. So, can we just have a Frozen Frenzy every night? But anyway, we are not going to stall for much longer. We are going to get right into it. So, without further ado, let's get into this thing. Since it's low. So NHL Frozen Frenzy 2024-25 recap. 32 teams, 16 games, one great night of hockey, of course. So a total of 98 goals was scored in the Frozen Frenzy from last night. I should have mentioned this too, that there's only one game on the slate for today, and that's the Flyers and Capitals. So they play a back-to-back home set. Of course, the Capitals ended up winning that game yesterday in Philly, 4-1. They got two shorthanded goals from Nick Dow and Andrew Mangiapane, and then they got a goal from, I think, John Carlson scored one of the Capitals' goals in the third period. And I forgot the other player that scored for Washington. But yeah, they're having a game today. That'll be the only game for today. It'll come on at 6:30 p.m. Central Time on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max. This video should be uploaded before then. So yeah, 98 goals was scored in yesterday's busy Frozen Frenzy. Of course, you should take a look right here. Like I said, 16 games, goals per game, 6.1, shots taken, and this basically kind of is around like all the 32 teams out of action. Like how many shots did the 32 teams take in total? And it was a total of 958. Saves on those shots were 861. We only had one hat trick in the Frozen Frenzy last night, and that was the Brandon Hagel hat trick in the Lightning's 8-5 win over the New Jersey Devils. So yeah, that was a wild game, by the way. I mean, unreal game, 8-5, unreal. First goal of the game, Nick Dow. He had that shorthanded goal against the Philadelphia Flyers, and that was at 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time, but for Central Time, it's 5:14 p.m. Central Time. And the last goal tonight came in that Golden Knights 6-1 win over the LA Kings, ending a 3-game skid, one from Ivan Barbashev, which was at 1:36 a.m. Eastern Time, but for Central Time, 12:36 a.m. Central Time, so around midnight. So yeah, these are all the numbers right here. 98 goals in 16 games last night. Last season we had, or the first time they had this, which was last year, there was a total of 102 goals that was scored. I was hoping to see it go over that. But of course, some teams have gotten shut out last night, like the Red Wings. They shut out the Islanders. Patrick Kane had the lone goal in that game, so the final score of that game was 1-0. And then the Predators, they finally win their first game of the season, snapping a 5-game losing skid. They started off the season 0-5-0, but they got a win in their belt, shutting out the Boston Bruins for 0. And then, yeah, that was the only two shutouts that was in the Frozen Frenzy last night. Of course, there was an overtime game with the Hurricanes and Oilers 2006 Stanley Cup Final rematch, and Sebastian Aho scored the game-winning goal in that game. That was like actually the first and only overtime game in the Frozen Frenzy. So, yeah, but just a lot has happened last night. Now we're going to get into the top 5 player performances. So these are basically performance from players that I think has stood out. And of course, the NHL posted this on their social media pages as well. But these are the ones to me that stood out. Of course, I'm only doing top 5 player performances because there's a lot. I want to get into the games with the Frozen Frenzy because, like I said, of course, there's 16 games on the slate. And we're just going to get into these only top 5, not top 10, but top 5 player performances. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. So, like I mentioned already, Brandon Hagel's hat trick in the Lightning's 8-5 win over the Devils. He actually had a natural hat trick, which he scored all 3 of those goals in the second period. So, of course, Victor Hedman, I think he scored 2 goals in that period as well because he has scored twice in that game. I think both of his goals came in the second period. But with the hat trick for Brandon Hagel, he also got 1 assist right there. And he averaged 15 minutes and 54 seconds of time on ice, rounding to, 15 minutes and 50 seconds right there. And 26 shifts he had out on the ice, 3 shots on goal, and he now has 8 points in 6 games played this season. So 5 goals, 3 assists for 8 points in 6 games played this season. He is tied for second in points among team. Of course, Victor Hedman has 8 points this season, getting 2 goals, 6 assists. And Anthony Cirelli, who had a 4-point night, notching all 4 assists in that Lightning's 8-5 wild win over the New Jersey Devils. He has 1 goal and 7 assists of the season. Number 2, UC Saul. So, like I mentioned, the Predators finally getting win number 1. They get win number 1 under their belts. UC Sauls had a stellar performance in the crease for Nashville, and the Predators shut out the Bruins 4-0 for their first win of the season. They started off the season 0-5-0. They had got shut out. Well, their first game of the season was against Dallas, which they won 4-1. That was also their home opener. Then they get shut out by the Red Wings 3-0. And then they play Seattle, I believe. I think it was Seattle before Edmonton. And they got trampled 7-3. I know that's not really the best word I would use, but you guys know what I mean for that. And then they lose to Edmonton, I think 4-2, I believe. And then they played Detroit, and then they lost 5-2. So, and then they finally win their first game against Boston 4-0. So they played Detroit twice in that 5-game losing skid. But Detroit did win their game last night against the Islanders 1-0. So the Predators, they face the Blackhawks Friday. United Center, this game will air on ESPN Plus and Hulu, so you'll be able to watch it on there. And I do like the Predators, but you guys know I am a Blackhawks fan, so go Hawks. I do hate that we lost last night to the Vancouver Canucks 6-3, but I kind of already knew that we weren't going to get the win in that game. So, yeah. But anyway, moving on. So speaking of Red Wings, speaking of shutouts, Alex Lynn makes 29 saves to give the Red Wings the 1-0 shutout victory over the New York Islanders. This is the the first shutout this season for Alex Lynn against the New York Islanders. First shutout of the season in general, but in his career, this is his 4th shutout. And the Red Wings moved to 3-3-0 of the season. This is 2 straight games that Detroit has won. So they're looking to return to Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time since 2016. Yes, I know it's early to be saying this, but hey, I will. Despite me being a Blackhawks fan, and I really do love the Blackhawks, I know we have a little bit of a rivalry with the Detroit Red Wings, but because Patrick Kane is on there, because Alistair Brinken is on there, I would love to see some playoff hockey in Detroit. And Patrick Kane scored the first goal of that game and the first goal of the season. So it took 6 games to get Kane his first goal, because usually, like, if he was in his prime, and I think he's like 35 years old right now, but I'm not sure. But if he was in his prime, he would have already had a goal by now. But At least he gets his first goal of the season. So that's all that matters. I mean, it may take you a while, but hey, at least you got your first goal. And not only that, but you also get the win as well. So that's what makes it even better. Detroit was limited to at least 10, 11 shots on goal in this game, which is the fewest shots in the victory since 1959, according to Ken Daniels. Since you guys don't know who Ken Daniels is, he does play-by-play commentary for the Detroit Red Wings. I love listening to him do play-by-play commentary. I think he's one of the best NHL commentators right now, and just for hockey in general. I am upset that Sam Rosen is going to be retiring after this year. Of course, he does a play-by-play commentary for the New York Rangers, so it's going to be different to not hear him in the booth after the season. But hey, it is what it is. All right, moving on. So Tomas Hertl's 4.9 performance, and I'll get into more in this game later on throughout this video. But I just want to specifically focus on Tomas Hertl. I think he had an unreal performance. Of course, the Golden Knights winning 6-1 in that game against the LA Kings, which they snapped their 3-game losing skid. So this is their first home game since returning from that 3-game road trip, which of course was in Washington, Tampa, Florida. They lost 4-2 against Washington, and they lost to Tampa. I don't know what's the final score in that game. But then Panthers Golden Knights, the last two teams to win the Stanley Cup recently. Panthers won that game 4-3 in overtime. Gustav Forsling had the game-winning goal in that game, and the Golden Knights won a 3-game losing skid. But they finally snap it with a win in the Frozen Frenzy event last night. This was the last game of that ESPN triple header right there as well. So, yeah. But yeah, Tomas Hertl had 4 points to the night, 2 goals, 2 assists. One of the goals being a power play goal, and he was out there for 23 shifts, managed to get 5 shots on goal, and he now has 7 points of the season, and he's tied for 4th in team points. Of course, Shea Theodore had 1 goal, 6 assists, and he also has 7 points for the team. So 1 goal, 6 assists for 7 points of the season. All right, now we're going to get into Marty Necas. So he had a 3.9 performance, notching 1 goal and 2 assists in the Canes. 3-2 overtime win over the Edmonton Oilers. So this was a 2006 Stanley Cup final rematch between the two teams. Of course, Hurricanes won the Stanley Cup that year, and of course the Oilers did not because they still won that Canadian Cup drought. No Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup since the 1993 Montreal Canadiens got it done against the LA Kings. But in this game, in general, Marty Necas had 6 points. In this season, sorry if I'm getting my words mixed up. Necas has 6 points in 5 games this season, so 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points in 5 games this season, and he averaged 19 minutes and 50 seconds of time on ice in the game. He was out there for 22 shifts and 3 shots on goal. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, this is the first overtime game during this Frozen Frenzy event, and Sebastian Aho had the game-winning goal with about 6 seconds remaining to give the Hurricanes the 3-2 OT win over the Edmonton Oilers. All right, top 10 matchups during the Frozen Frenzy event. Now, at the end of this, I did provide a bonus player performance and a game performance event, so you will be able to see that as well. Of course, like I said, a lot has happened last night during the Frozen Frenzy with all 32 teams in action, 16 game slate, and 1 great night of hockey. So, yeah. Why not just add some bonus ones in there? But Winnipeg Jets, they win this 6th straight game against the St. Louis Blues by a final score of 3-2. 3-2. And Kyle Connor, he had the game-winning goal in that game, and this is the 4th straight game that he has scored in, and he now has 6 points in 6 games this season. So 5 goals, 1 assist for 6 points in 6 games this season. So he's absolutely firing on all cylinders right now early in the season. He's actually tied for Mark Scheifele in goals with 5. Cole Perfetti dished out 3 assists in the game. Connor Hellebuck, he made 27 saves on 29 shots faced in net. For the Blues, Brandon Saad, he scored twice and he notched point number 500 as a Blackhawks fan. Despite him playing for the St. Louis Blues, I am happy to see that Brandon Saad had notched point number 500. Obviously, a great player for us when he played for the Blackhawks. He actually won 2 Stanley Cups with us back in 2013 and 2015. I don't think he was part of that 2010 Stanley Cup run with us, but I know 2013 and 2015 for sure. He was part of that 2013-2015 Stanley Cup run for the Blackhawks. So, just happy to see him notch point on 500. Absolutely deserves it. Robert Thomas, he had 2 assists in the game for the St. Louis Blues, and Jordan Bennington made 21 saves for St. Louis, who are now 4-3-0 of the season. They ended their 4-game homestand 2-2-0. So just those losses against the Minnesota Wild and Winnipeg Jets. So 2 Central Division teams right there. And then they won in their game against Carolina, and then winning in overtime against New York Islanders 1-0. So yeah. For the Jets, they continue their 3-game road trip in Seattle when they face the Kraken Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blues start a 4-game road trip in Toronto Thursday when they face the Maple Leafs at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Of course, the Maple Leafs coming off of a 6-2 loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets last night in the Frozen Frenzy. Matthew Olivier, he scored twice in that game. And I don't know if the goalie was full. I didn't really watch that game, but I just saw Olivier I didn't watch the full game, but I just heard on the NHL website and of course saw a little bit of highlights when they posted it on the fly last night on NHL Network that Olivier had scored twice. And the Maple Leafs lost 6-2. Of course, they were playing a back-to-back yesterday because Monday they had a game against Tampa. They won 5-2, and then heading into the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, they lose 6-2. So they were playing a doubleheader. I mean, not a doubleheader, a back-to-back game right there. All right, Lightning and Devils. Wild night in that game. So, like I mentioned already, the Lightning were playing a back-to-back set against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they lost 5-2. Andre Vasilevsky was pulled in that game. He allowed 4 goals on 14 shots faced in net. Jonas Johansson, who started this game, made 14 saves on 15 shots faced in net for that 5-2 Lightning loss to the Maple Leafs. Brandon Hagel, just like I said in my player performance slide, he netted the natural hat trick in the Lightning's 8-5 win. He also picked up an assist. And Anthony Cirelli, like I mentioned earlier in this video, he dished out 4 assists for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Both Janice Moser and Jay Genso had a goal and 2 assists. And Jonas Johansson made 30 saves in the crease for the Lightning, who are now 4-2-0 of the season. The Lightning return home Thursday for the start of a 3-game homestand against the Minnesota Wild at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And for the Devils, they do face Detroit Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But Devils didn't have too much of a bad game themselves, despite the loss. Of course, we got to see some Timo Meyer net 2 goals. Jack Hughes had a goal and 2 assists, so he stood out well in that Frozen Frenzy event. Jake Allen made 29 saves for the Devils, who are now 5-3-1 of the season. The power play for both teams was not bad. Of course, the Lightning were a perfect 2-for-2 on their power play. New Jersey is 2-for-3 on their power play in the game. And shots on goal were almost as similar as well. So the Lightning had 37 shots on goal. Devils had 35 shots on goal. So certainly, just a great game in general to watch. So I can't wait to see what happens in that wild game against the Lightning. I think they end their, what was it, 7-8 game road trip in Philly when they take on the Flyers. And for the Devils, like I mentioned, they'll be facing the Detroit Red Wings Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Rangers score 7 on the Montreal Canadiens. So they absolutely laid the smackdown, little wrestling reference for you guys, on the Canadiens, winning a 7-2. Philip Zito and Capo Caco each had a 3-point night. So Philip Zito had 2 goals and 1 assist. Capo Caco had 1 goal and 2 assists. This is the 4th straight win for the New York Rangers, and they outshot the Canadiens 45-23. They had a 4-goal period with goals from Mika Zibanejad, Johnny Borzinski, Riley Smith, and Philip Zito. Igor Shesterkin made 21 saves for the Rangers, and the Rangers, they're doing red hot of the season. Now 5-0-1. And they set a new record for longest season opening point streak in franchise history. For the Canadiens, Nick Suzuki has scored twice for Montreal, and Sam Montembeault, who allowed 4 goals on 10 shots faced in net, was replaced by Caden Primier in the game, and he managed to make 32 saves on 35 shots faced in net. I think this was at the start of the second period that Caden Primier came in, but not sure. Anyways, the Habs have lost 4 straight games. They're now 2-4-1 of the season. They're 0-3-1 during their 4-game skid. For the Rangers, they return home to play the Florida Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, at Madison Square Garden Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And while the Canadians play the Blues Saturday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, so that will kick off Hockey Night in Canada right there. All right, now this is one that I really do hate to see because I'm a Blackhawks fan. JT Miller's 3-point night helps Canucks defeat Blackhawks 6-3. So JT Miller had 1 goal and 2 assists for this 3-point night. Danton Hayden scored twice for Vancouver. Connor Garland had a 2-point night, notching 1 goal and 1 assist. Quinn Hughes and Kiefer Sherwood each had 2 assists for the Canucks. This is the 3rd straight game that they started Kevin Lankinen. Of course, they started Archer Slivasauce in that 4-1 loss over the Tampa Bay Lightning. For the Blackhawks, Taylor Hall notched his point number 700 with the Boston Bruins. So point number 700. Can you imagine that? And of course, Ryan Donato and Tyler Bertuzzi also scored for Chicago. Peter Mrazek made 24 saves for the Blackhawks, who are now 2-4-1 of the season. But unfortunately, they lost 3 of their last 4 games. But I'm hoping they can turn things around against the Nashville Predators. But I know they won last night in a shutout win over the Boston Bruins. But I don't think last year we had won a single game against the Nashville Predators. So I'm hoping that this game Friday night will change that. So the Canucks return home to start a 3-game homestand against the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Blackhawks face the Predators Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This will be the last game of their 4-game homestand before they begin a road trip in Dallas when they take on the Dallas Stars. And this game will air on ESPN Plus and Hulu. All right, so speaking of Nashville, they win their first game of the regular season, so mark it down. Predators fans can now relax. They can stay calm. They get their first win of the books. UC Saul stopped all 33 shots faced in there as the Predators shut out the Bruins 4-0. They started off the season 0-5-0, but they do get their first win of the season. Ryan O'Reilly, Luke Evangelista each had a 2-point night for the Preds, getting 1 goal and 1 assist. Roman Josi had 2 assists for the Predators, and the Predators, they outshot the Bruins 42-33 in the game. And the Predators will look to continue on their winning note as they head to United Center to face the Blackhawks Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. This is the first of a back-to-back homestand for the Nashville Predators. Of course, they play Chicago Friday, and then Saturday they return home Bridgestone Arena to face the Columbus Blue Jackets at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And like I mentioned already, the game will air on ESPN Plus and Hulu. So if you guys have Hulu, you'll be able to watch it right there. The Bruins, that should say Bruins. I don't know why it says Bruins. That should say Bruins. But they begin a 3-game homestand against the Dallas Stars Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Yeah, this is supposed to say Bruins. I don't know why it says Bruins. All right, so Capitals shorthanded goals sparked them to victory over the Philadelphia Flyers. So the Capitals to kick off the Frozen Frenzy and to kick off the Frozen Frenzy triple header on ESPN last night. They win 4-1 against the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, it was the battle of the Russians, Alex Ovechkin versus Matei Michikov. Obviously, we'll get that today, coming on at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, because that's what time that Flyers and Capitals game comes on. They got shorthanded goals from Nick Dow and Andrew Mangiapane. Of course, Mangiapane's goal ended up becoming the game-winning goal. John Carlson and Jacob Chikrin also scored in that third period for the Washington Capitals. Connor McMichael had 2 assists in the game for the Caps, and Charlie Lindgren made 17 saves on 18 shots faced in net for Washington as they move up to 4-1-0 of the season. Travis Sanheim scored the lone goal for the Flyers, who are now 1-4-1 of the season. Samuel Ersson made 25 saves in the game, and the Flyers, they lose their 5th straight game. They only got 1 goal in this past 2 games, which was in that 4-1 loss to the Washington Capitals. And they, of course, they got shut out by the Canucks in their home opener, 3-0. And like I mentioned already, the Capitals will play the Flyers for a back-to-back home set October 22nd. It was at the Wells Fargo Center yesterday. Caps won 4-1. Today's at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. I don't know what will be the final score for right here, but you guys would just have to take a look for yourselves. Trying to move on. Oh, I went too far. All right, so the Wild, they extend their season opening point streak to 6 games with a 5-1 win over the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. They are the second team in NHL history to not trail in regulation through its first 6 games. Of course, the last team to do it was the 1969-1970 Boston Bruins, which they did it in their first 7 games of the season. Matt Boldy, Joe Eriksson Ek, and Matt Zuccarello each had a 2-point night for Minnesota, notching 1 goal and 1 assist. Marcus Johansson's goal turned out to be the game-winning goal, and the Wild were 1 for 2 on the power play. And Matt Boldy had that power play goal, so didn't want to show no signs of playing like a bad defensive game, but Minnesota has a great team. So we'll just have to see if there'll be a playoff team by the end of the season. Jake Middleton, he had 3 assists for the Wild. Kirill Kaprizov had 2 assists for the Wild. And for Philip Gustafson, he made 24 saves on 25 shots faced in net. And the Wild are now 4-2 of the season. Second 6-game point streak to start the season for the Nashville Predators. I mean, not Nashville Predators. Minnesota Wild. And for the Panthers, Sam Bennett scores the long goal in victory against the Minnesota Wild. And Sergei Bobrovsky was pulled in this game. He allowed 5 goals on 16 shots. So he was replaced by Spencer Knight at the start of the third period. And Knight managed to make 6 saves and They had their 4-game point streak snapped. They were 3-0-1 during the time. This is for Florida, and the Panthers are now 4-3-1 of the season. They start their 4-game road trip Thursday as they head to MSG to take on the New York Rangers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, while the Wild continue their long 7-game road trip in Tampa when they take on the Lightning Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. All right, so the Avs. Don't look now, but the Avalanche, they are rolling. They have won 3 straight games this season. And they started off the season 0-4-0 of the season. Now they're 3-4-0 of the season. And Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar each extended their season opening point streak to 7 games played. MacKinnon had a power play goal. Cale Makar had 2 assists in the game. And Nathan MacKinnon, he now has 12 points during his point streak. And Cale Makar has 14. So 3 goals, 9 assists for 12 points for Nathan MacKinnon. For Cale Makar, 2 goals, 12 assists for 14 points for him. Joel Kivianta scored twice in the Avs 3-2 win over the Kraken. And Eustace Anywin made 25 saves in Colorado in his second straight start. Of course, the last game before this game, he started in San Jose with the Sharks. Not the Sharks. The Avalanche had won 4-1 against the Sharks. Jared McCann and Riker Evans had also scored for Seattle. And Seattle's 3-game winning streak was snapped by the Colorado Avalanche. And Philip Grubauer made 25 saves in the loss for the Kraken. The Avs end their 3-game road trip in Utah where they face Utah Hockey Club Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. I wonder if they're thinking about a name right now because I really do not like that name for a pro NHL team. So I'm hoping they come up with a name soon. Utah Yetis is a good option because, well, if that's what they're going to call it, it should be called the Utah Yetis. I don't think Yetis are known in Utah, but based on the color scheme and the other stuff, I feel like it should be in Utah. And the Kraken, they continue their 5-game homestand against the Winnipeg Jets at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. I think this will be on either a Thursday or Friday, but I'm not sure. But we're going to go ahead and move on. All right, so the Ducks, they win 3-1 in their California rivalry showdown against the San Jose Sharks. So they scored their first 2 power play goals of the season. Of course, goals from Troy Terry and Leo Carlson. Leo Carlson had broke the game tie, like he had broke the tie late in that third period. Alex Colon also added an empty net goal to seal the deal for the first goal of the season. Carter Gauthier had 2 assists in the game. And Anaheim was 0 for 20 on the man advantage through his first 5 games of the season. So imagine starting off the season 0 for 20 on your power play. Need your key guys step up for you, but they don't get that start right away. But hopefully this can be something that can be resolved later on in the future. Ducks outshot Sharks 40-28 in the game. And Mikhail Granlund scored the long goal for San Jose. Mackenzie Blackwood made 37 saves for the Sharks, who are now 0-5-2 of the season. So going back to October of last season, the Sharks have had struggles in that game, and they're having a struggle in these few games this season as well. The Ducks start their 4-game road trip as they head to MSG to take on the Rangers at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. The Sharks continue their 4-game road trip in LA to take on the Kings. And, of course, this game will start at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. All right, last but not least, and like I said, I added a bonus one after this. So make sure you stay tuned for that. The Golden Knights end their 3-game losing skid against the LA Kings. So the final score was 6-1. Tomas Hertl had a 4-point night, notching 2 goals and 2 assists. Mark Stone had a goal and 2 assists in the win as well. Alex Pietrangelo had 3 assists in the win for the VGK. Ilya Samsonov made 32 saves in the win, and the Golden Knights are now 4-2-1 of this season, Warren Fogle scored the only lone goal for the Los Angeles Kings. And David Riddick, he made 24 saves for the LA Kings as well. And the Kings are now 3-2-2 this season. They ended their long season opening 7-game road trip 3-2-2 of the season. So it's great to see the Avs get their first dub of the year. It's kind of surprised me that they started off the season 0-4-0, but they certainly have turned things around for sure. All right, now we're going to get into the bonus player performance in game. So, number one, I just have Anton Forsberg, former Chicago Blackhawk, managed to make 31 saves in the Senators 4-0 shutout win over the Utah Hockey Club. So, the Senators, they scored 4 goals in that first period alone in the span of 8 minutes and 9 seconds to shut out Utah. This is the first home loss in franchise history for Utah Hockey Club against a NHL team. So Drake Batherson, Claude Giroux, Riley Gregg, and Brady Tkachuk still, well, they scored for the Ottawa Senators. This third straight game that Brady Tkachuk has scored in. This is the sixth shutout in his career. Well, sixth shutout in career for Anton Forsberg. That's what I meant to say. Sorry if I'm getting my words mixed up. Kind of still a little bit tired from last night because, like I said, last night it was just an unreal night of hockey, all 32 teams in action. And so I may be a little bit tired and a little bit sleepy because of that. And also, that might be another reason why I'm getting my words mixed up and am stumbling. So anyway, Ottawa is now 4-2-0 of the season. Connor Ingram was replaced by Carl Vermelka at the start of the second period. So he allowed 4 goals on 9 shots faced in net. So he was pulled after that first period. And Carl Vermelka has stopped all 14 shots faced in net. But this is bad news for Utah. They have now lost 3 of its 4 games. So don't know where that firepower was when they were winning. They won like what, three straight games in a row, 4 straight games in a row. Then they lost. They actually got shut out by the New Jersey Devils, ending their winning streak right there. But they, like, ever since they moved to Utah, they have played like really good despite them being where they're at right now, losing 3 of their 4 straight games. I don't know where it's this same momentum and same progress that we saw when they were called the Arizona Coyotes, but ever since they moved to Utah, they have been playing like really, really well. But for the Senators, they continue their 4-game road trip in Vegas when they take on the VGK Vegas Golden Knights at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Utah Hockey Club ends its 3-game homestand against the Colorado Avalanche Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. So make sure you stay tuned to those games. And just another game I wanted to add in. The Flames extend their point streak to 6 games of the season. So they win 4-3 in the shootout against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Justin Kirkland scored the game-winning goal in that shootout victory, and that went to 6 rounds right there. Nazem Kadri scored the game-tying goal in that third period with 43 seconds remaining. Rasmus Anderson had a goal and assist for Calgary. Mackenzie Weegar also scored, and Dustin Wolf, the Calgary Flames rookie goaltender, made 35 saves for the Flames, and the Flames are now 5-0-1. So that they have not had a regulation loss just yet. That point streak keeps clicking and it keeps going. For the Pens, Brian Russ and Ricard Raquel scored for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and Alex Nedeljkovic made 22 saves for the Pens, who are now 3-4-1 of the season. They have lost 3 straight games. The next game is Friday against Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers, and they are coming off of a 3-2 overtime loss to the Carolina Hurricanes. So, of course, both of these teams are looking to put on great starts in that game. Of course, it'll be Sidney Crosby versus Connor McDavid, which is always fun to see. For the Flames, they continue their 3-game homestand against the Carolina Hurricanes Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Of course, the Penguins, before this Frozen Frenzy event, they had lost I think 6-3 to the Winnipeg Jets. And of course, the Jets fans were chanting, "Where's Rucker? Where's Rucker?" Because Rucker McGrady, great player to watch, at least in my opinion. Some people say he sucks. He's not a good player. But I think he just needs to prove himself. And this is the good part about him being the AHL. He'll play some games in the AHL, and then when he gets called up to the NHL, he'll do great as always. So maybe just needs to spend a little time in the AHL, and then when the time comes, he'll get called up to the NHL, and he'll he'll get his first NHL goal, and he'll do really great for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Of course, he was traded to the Penguins by the Jets for Braden Yeager. I think this was, I don't know when this trade first happened, but that was the trade right there. So that's why the Jets fans were chanting Wes Rucker. I thought he was going to actually play for the Winnipeg Jets since he got drafted by them, but obviously they just decided to trade him over to Pittsburgh. But hopefully he gets called up to the NHL soon, because obviously a talented player to watch, especially during his time in college hockey with the Michigan Wolverines. So just have to see what happens. I think that is the end of our PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out. But just to recap to you guys all of the final scores from last night's Frozen Frenzy, because I forgot to add it in here. Of course, the Capitals and Flyers, they kicked things off during the Frozen Frenzy. Of course, the Capitals won 4-1. Nick Dowd and Andrew Mangiapane getting those shorthanded goals, and that sparked them with the win. While against the Panthers, of course, Matthew Tkachuk returned to that game, which I did put as a notable game to watch. But I think I did. Yeah, I did say it in here. Like I said, I'm still kind of tired and sleepy from the Frozen Frenzy event last night. So, um, yeah. So yeah, I did mention that in there. I'm just trying to make sure. So Wild beat the Panthers last night 5-1. They extend their season opening point streak to like 7 games of the season. Matthew Tkachuk returned to that game last night, but of course they didn't win. Of course, this is his first game back since the illness. Alexander Barkov, we could see Barkov return sometime this week because he's out with an injury. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next game. Of course, Lightning beating the Devils last night, 8-5. Brandon Hagel with a natural hat trick, and that was just a wild game in general as well. Victor Hedman scored twice. Timo Meyer for the Devils had 2 goals. Jack Hughes had a 3.9, getting 1 goal and 2 assists. So that was just a wild night for sure. Of course, Jonas Johansson started that game. Since Andre Vasilevsky had a bad game against Toronto. Of course, they were playing a back-to-back set. Tampa Bay Lightning lost 5-2 to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Vasi got pulled, and Jonas Johansson had to come into that game. But he starts that game last night against New Jersey, and the Lightning win 8-5. Stars and Sabres, 1999 Stanley Cup Final rematch. Sabres beat the Dallas Stars 4-2. I thought the Dallas Stars, they got 2 goals late in that game against the Buffalo Sabres in that third period, but it wouldn't be enough to overcome this young team of the Buffalo Sabres. Rangers laid the smackdown on the Canadians, 7-2. Philip Zito, Capo Caco each had a 3.9. Philip Zito had 2 goals, 1 assist. Capo Caco had 1 goal, 2 assists. And Igor Shesterkin was just on his game in that win as well. Maple Leafs, Blue Jackets, final score 6-2. Matthew Olivier scoring twice in that game. Sean Monahan even pitched in the goal as well. So the Blue Jackets just took it to Toronto right there. Red Wings shutting out the Islanders 1-0. My boy Patrick Kane grew up watching them, tried to copy off his skills as a kid. He scored the lone goal in that Red Wings and Islanders game. Jets, Blues, final score 3-2. So, of course, the Jets are now 6-0 the season. They still remain undefeated. Canucks and Blackhawks. Unfortunately, my Chicago Blackhawks dropped or lost that game to the Vancouver Canucks 6-3. Brock Besser had himself a night. I think JT Miller had a 1 goal, 2 assists, so certainly put on a show. Connor Garland even pitched in goal. Quinn Hughes had dished out a couple of assists in that win as well. And Kevin Lankinen, the former Chicago Blackhawks goaltender, had a great game as well. I wish he was good for us. I think he was. I think our problem when Kevin Lankinen was on us, we just didn't have enough defense on our team, and we just absolutely sucked. The Canucks, on the other hand, they have some offense. They got a solid defensive pair, so I think that's probably why Kevin Lankton's doing good right now, because that Vancouver Canucks team. But obviously, still trying to not have the Canucks fans worried because Thatcher Demko is still out with an injury. So just the two starting tendies right now for the Canucks are Artis Sivasos, which we saw him make his debut in that playoffs last season against the Nashville Predators, and Kevin Lankinen has just been solid on his game since signing with the Vancouver Canucks in free agency. So as a Blackhawks fan, gotta give it to him. And he did good in Nashville, too, because he did play for Nashville as well. He had some solid stats with Nashville. Absolutely getting solid stats with Vancouver as well. Avalanche not Kraken. The Avalanche hold on for the 3-2 win over the Seattle Kraken, so they win their third straight game in a row after starting the season 0-4-0. So the Avalanche, they're clicking. We'll just have to see what happens against Utah in that game tomorrow. Bruins, Predators shutting out the Bruins 4-0, getting their first win of the new season. First win of the season right here. So UC Sauls had a 33 save performance in that shutout win over the Nashville Predators. Hurricanes, Oilers, 2006 Stanley Cup Final rematch. Sebastian Aho had the game-winning goal in that game. Marty Natures had a goal and 2 assists in that game. He assisted on Sebastian Aho's game-winning goal. Hurricanes win 3-2. Senators, Utah Hockey Club. So the Senators scored all 4 of their goals in that first period. They got goals from Drake Batherson, Claude Giroux, Riley Gregg, and Brady Tkachuk, which Tkachuk has scored in his third straight game. So all 4 of those goals for the Sens came in that first period. Of course, Connor Ingram was pulled in that game. Carl Melker came in. Steve Utah rebounds against Colorado tomorrow night at home. Penguins, Flames, that game went to a shootout with the Flames winning 4-3. Dustin Wolf made 35 saves in the game. Of course, the Flames extend their point streak to 6 games of the season. Sharks, Ducks, California rivalry. These are 2 rebuilding teams with great young talent. Of course, Macklin Celebrini still out for the San Jose Sharks because of that injury. But the Ducks take it 3-1. Leo Carlson had the game-winning goal in that game. Kings, Golden Knights, final score 6-1. Tomas Hertl had a 4-point night, getting 2 goals, 2 assists. I think Mark Stone had a goal and 2 assists in that game. Elias Samsonov was also in this game last night as well. So that is it. That is your recap for the 2024-25 NHL Frozen Frenzy. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Of course, still a little bit tired from the Frozen Frenzy event because, like I said, I stayed up to like 10, 11 at night still watching the NHL Frozen Frenzy, so I'm still a little bit tired and sleepy from that. But other than that, I really did enjoy it. I think it was a great night as usual. Of course, I know some people were complaining about it coming on a Tuesday, but I actually don't mind it coming on Tuesdays. I know it was on the same day as the NBA opening night. But hey, that was the big event yesterday. So yeah. Anyways, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.